Oh, hi there. Dishing Swishing Podcast, recording somewhat live in the usual spot on top of the bar in the basement on this snowy Thursday afternoon / evening. Gonna be a jam-packed show tonight. I got a lot of stuff. The whole hour-long time limit thing is just out of the window. We have just way too much in all four major sports. Joe, how's it going?
It's going great. I trekked 15 minutes into the snow with my nice boots, my nice jacket. We were going to podcast last night, but we couldn't podcast last night, so we're podcasting now. But we're still on schedule.
Well,
so
we're on Joe's schedule. Joe had plans with the lady friend, and and in fairness though, the Ranger game was essential time. Was starting an hour later, so I'll let it slide.
We watched the Ranger game last night too.
But we'll get to hockey. We'll get to the Rangers. First thing I want to talk about, and I'll go on a quick little. I'll set the scene for you guys. Is I'm sure as many Mets fans know, Daniel Murphy recently made some comments, and he got into a bit of hot water about it. And basically, you have the quote there. You have the
yes, I've got the quote in front of me. For anybody who knows, Daniel Murphy had a controversial quote relating to the LGBT community, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. Who was this? It was this like to a fellow employee, correct?
No, it's to Billy Beane, not Billy Beane, Moneyball, Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, Billy Beane. It's a different Billy Beane,
without an E at the end, because Billy Beane is spelled with an E.
Billy Beane has an E. Yes, this Billy Beane also, I believe, played, and then I think he was married, and then he left for his partner, who then actually he died shortly after he was together with him. But I believe he did play. We'll check that eventually and get to that. But he's doing this sort of. He's like at the forefront of spreading the LGBT message across baseball, because the new commissioner Manfred is making it a thing where everyone has to be accepted, which is great. It's fine at the basically be opening up now. Obviously, after all the Jason Collins stuff and Michael Sam stuff, you need this to be a topic that's not frowned upon in baseball. So they're doing a great job with that. And Billy Beane is now leading this. If you want to, you can get to the quote.
I got the quote right in front of me. I don't think the fact that someone is a homosexual should completely shut the door on investing in them in a relational aspect. That's the way I would describe it for me. It's the same way that there are aspects of my life that I'm trying to surrender to Christ in my own life. For anybody who doesn't know, Daniel Murphy, not overly religious, but he is religious. To continue the quote, there's a great deal of many things, like my pride. I just think that as a believer, trying to articulate in a way that says just because I disagree with the lifestyle, that's a key word here, lifestyle, doesn't mean I'm just never going to speak to Billy Beane every time he walks through the door. That's not love. That's not love at all. So
right. So thanks for sending the scene there, and I wanted, and you hit. That's been the point I made off air, and Joe's stealing my thunder, saying the word lifestyle, and I think that's the main issue right there is the word lifestyle. To him, Daniel Murphy, a guy who's religious, his beliefs, it's this, it's supposed to be a man and a woman, and that's fine. And let me say, I'm not going to get on Daniel Murphy's case for being religious. I'm not a religious person. I don't care if you want to marry a woman, a man, a woman marrying a woman. You want to marry a tree, a dog.
A dog. That's against the law.
If you want to marry a box of pretzels, I don't care. It does not matter to me what you do in your own time. Like, I have my beliefs, you have yours. I'm not religious either. Like I said, so at the same token, he can believe what he wants to believe. His religious beliefs make him, like I said, he's inclined to believe a marriage is between a man and a woman. Fine. That's fine. The issue with him saying this is that in today's world, you're going to get eaten alive. It's just a fact. If you bring up anything in terms of, gay marriage, and if you're not on the pro-gay marriage side, people don't want to hear it because it's a shame in a way that people will stop caring about what people believe in religiously. That's another issue. That religious beliefs, if you believe in something the Bible says, you're just looked at as you're ancient. It's the Old Testament, New Testament, whatever. It's written, thousands of years ago. Like, get over it. Like, you can't go that way either. It's unfair. It's someone's beliefs. That being said, it's not a lifestyle. these people, it's he didn't wake up one day and go, oh well, I think today I'm going to start being gay. It wasn't a choice. It's not a lifestyle. It's not his way. He was born like he was born gay. He was born into men, and he admitted this. He said it took him a really long time to finally accept it himself. He kept it in the closet for a while, afraid to tell his parents, and then he did. And I guess the unfortunate thing happened with his parents. Not knowing, and then his partner dying. So he himself said that. And Dale Murphy, not a bad guy by any means. He's a good guy. He had catch with the man Billy Beane on the field. He talked to him. Everything was fine. Dale Murphy also did not come out and say this. This is another thing people don't know. Dale Murphy was asked this question by a reporter, so he was pounded for this. It was not that he came out and started saying that. Dale Murphy didn't come out and saying, I hate gays. So before he gets slammed, make that be known. He is a religious guy. He believes marriage between a man and a woman. He said the word lifestyle. That is where he went wrong. He's allowed to have his own beliefs, like I said. He can have his beliefs. If you're religious, it's great. More power to you. That's what you believe in. Awesome. I don't care if you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu. Like I said, if you worship a tree like they do in Game of Thrones, that's fine. I don't care. And I don't care. And I don't care on the flip side. I don't care who you want to marry. But when you're saying words that come across almost uninformed. If you're saying the word lifestyle, it's showing you're basically ignorant to the situation. Billy Beane, wanting to be with a male it's not his lifestyle. If Jalen Murphy's with a woman, it's not his lifestyle. It's just that's just life. It's not a style. He's a straight man and one is a homosexual. It's just the fact of the matter. So I think Dale Murphy's coming out more malicious than he really should be. That being said, athletes should pretty much just keep their mouths shut on anything that's controversial. If the reporter knew Dale Murphy was religious and he knew he was going to get an easy quote or an easy headline in the paper, then then he's a jerk. He's doing his job, but he's a jerk. Dale Murphy was not being a jerk. He just doesn't know. He has his beliefs, and he's fine for sticking to them. Some people, it's not that we're going backwards as a culture. Some people do not. They don't believe in certain things. Some people, you could say it's not forward thinking, but in the Bible, in some religions, it is, it's not frowned upon. It's just it's a sin. It's something they don't believe in. They don't believe that marriage should be with the same, the same male and female and female. That's what they believe in. He can't be persecuted for his beliefs. Could he be persecuted for saying the word lifestyle and thinking that it's a choice? I mean, sure. But he's uninformed, like I'm saying. He does not know anything about Billy Beane's life. And he acted with total respect towards him. Like I said, if you know the full situation, they tossed the ball around the field. He spoke with him. He said great things about him. He just said he does not agree with his lifestyle. That's all I got on this.
Listen, I completely agree with everything you had just said. The only thing I would add to that is we live in a very overtly sensitive world today.
Very PC.
And everybody knows what's going on. Social media has become a big thing. Trends and movements and all kinds of, what have you have become very, very big. So if you go, any kind of statement that goes against what is technically considered...
The majority, 100%.
You're in hot water.
You're getting put into hot water, right?
Right. And unfortunately, we, as a society now, we are, even though technically religion is still the minority worldwide, as you were alluding to before, when it comes to Christianity, there's still a lot of Catholics in America, a lot of people who practice Judaism, a lot of Islams. Basically, the religion has become the minority in the sense that it's not that people are getting crucified for having religious beliefs, but it's not so common anymore because the way that we're working, it's a continuous work in progress, obviously, but the way we're continuing to work for equality for everybody here in America, there's always this conflict that somehow working with each other and working together goes against the religious mindset. And that's immensely false, and it could not be further from the truth. Now, I took a scriptures class in college. No. This isn't going to be a lot.
He took a 100-level class, so he's an expert on it.
No, it was an upper level, technically the class was called Judeo-Christian scriptures, but a lot of the stuff that religious people preach and tell you about the Bible or the Torah, which is the Old Testament, a lot of it is false. A lot of it is based on loose interpretation. So there's nothing wrong with having or choosing. It's not a lifestyle, as you were saying before. There's no reason with living your life that way. And for Daniel Murphy, coming from his perspective, I'm not going to crucify him, and I'm not going to get on his case about a couple of comments that he made, when in reality he was trying to really smoothen out and mellow out the situation as best that he possibly could.
That's the issue. The people were getting on his case for people calling into Francesa, and who did a really good job, by the way. I'm not the biggest Francesa fan around, but I think he did a very good job with the callers, because people were like crucifying him. They were like, "Oh, this guy, he's ignorant. He doesn't know." Like, he's not ignorant as a person. He's ignorant to the situation.
Right. That is a very correct way to.
He doesn't, like, he was brought up, his religious beliefs were, there's that, a man is beat the woman, that's it, period, stop, end of story, that's it. And it wasn't like he saw Billy on the field and attacked him, hit him with a bat, it wasn't like it wasn't like he would throw the ball in his face. He was totally cordial and courteous to this man, and a reporter came up and sniped him out, knowing that Dale Murphy would give him something because he might have been tipped off that he was religious or whatnot. I don't know the background of that. And he was asked the question, and I said, "Look, I have no problem with the guy. You read the quote. Joe read it before, and he said that he just doesn't believe in his lifestyle, meaning that he does not agree with a man and a man or a woman and a woman. Again, using the word lifestyle is wrong." It was funny. Joe was trying to live tweet this on one of the accounts, and I put my finger up and stopped because I think this is the first time. This is groundbreaking for us. This is the first time we're getting into a social issue.
Yeah,
I believe in sports. So I was afraid of what you were going to tweet about me. Was you going to get me fired from my job?
No.
What was your first draft for that tweet?
Just about how Daniel Murphy is under scrutiny for comments that were probably taken out of context, which I think it's fair. It's a fair way to describe the situation.
But I feel like any politically correct person could probably turn that the other way and say that I'm being ignorant too.
No, you're not.
You don't think so?
No, you're not. Neither of us are being ignorant. I think ultimately what comes down to is what kind of environment you were raised into, and
the environment
you can totally tell
alone is going to be totally against.
We live in a very blue city.
We live in a society where if you're very religious, people look at you in a weird way.
Right.
If you're not accepting to all these new social norms, because it's becoming social norms, then you're
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Then you're looked at. That's the reason why I'm perfect, because I'm right. I straddle the line. Because,
yeah, you're perfect.
Like I am perfect because I said I'm not religious, so I don't care enough about religion. If you're like not into religion these days, it's like the cool thing. And if you're totally open with, wow, Joe, we got a lot of questions today. And if you want, like I said, you want to marry a Diet Coke can, if you want to go marry a horse, you want to marry a man, you want to marry a woman, you want to marry a building, go have fun. I don't care. It's not my life, so I don't care. I think that's the way most people should be. Unfortunately, people are very opinionated today. Daniel Murphy probably wrong for sharing his opinion because of the backlash, not because he can't believe what he wants to believe. I'm not getting on his case for that. People aren't. I think the same way if you believe a man should marry a man, I feel like you cannot get on Daniel Murphy's case for believing in his religious, the scriptures as Joe's talking about, that he follows that. It's the same. It works. It goes both ways. It's as simple as that. So Joe, you're allowed to tweet out something about me saying.
We'll wait. We'll tweet.
No. You got to. No. We open the show with Daniel Murphy. You got to tweet about it. So I want to hear something about Daniel Murphy. You could say the word lifestyle. Daniel Murphy went wrong when he used the word lifestyle.
Yeah. Perfect.
Period. The end.
Period. The end.
We're not done with baseball yet in this town. So yesterday the Yankees are playing. Is it yesterday? Was it 2 days ago? It was yesterday. Yesterday. A-Rod's first game. and we were playing the Phillies, I believe. The Phillies sent out a guy who probably won't make the majors, yet for some reason A-Rod was on the front page of all the major newspapers, and during the game, Francesa was on, and every time that A-Rod was at bat, they had Yankees beat writer, reporter, Sweeney Murdy on every at bat for Alex. They broke into Francesa's show to say Alex Rodriguez is at bat during a spring training game in March versus a guy who will not be probably pitching all that much in the MLB this year. What planet am I on? We're New York. We have other things to care about. We have Dylan Murphy saying comments. We have the Rangers making a huge deadline move and are in tied first place right next to the Islanders. We have a huge, massive NFL trade, probably the biggest trade since maybe the Randy Moss trade, if I'm forgetting something. Maybe longer than that.
I can't think of a trade
that affects both. That affects
head.
Both teams because it affects. It was the McCoy was traded from. LeSean McCoy was traded from the Eagles to the Buffalo Bills for Kiko Alonso, as everyone knows.
I can't.
The Bills play in the Jets division, and the Eagles play in the Giants division. I mean, it's a huge story, and we have Mike Francesa, the biggest radio host in the nation, and definitely in New York. A founding father of the whole sports, the sports radio shock jock. He's not shock jock, but talk show. And he has a guy breaking into his show every time Alex Rodriguez was hitting a baseball in a spring training game versus a guy who's not going to be in the league in March down in Florida. When did we become this low? I know A-Rod's a story. Like, I understand that. If he, during the regular season, though, definitely during the playoffs, if the Yankees make it, then he's a story. How is this a story? Am I crazy?
You didn't even touch on the story of when he was hitting from the pitching machine.
Oh no, I know. The whole team couldn't hit versus a
pitching
versus an iRobot machine. I understand that, but I don't get how. Aaron reporting spring training, fine. Sorry, it's first time he's in spring training. He's with the team. I get it. Fine. Breaking into Francesa and being on the front page of the newspaper for participating in a spring training game? Are we a small market? Are we a town? Is it, what we feel like? It's like one of those Friday Night Lights little towns in Texas where the whole place revolves around that one team, that one sport, and the only thing they focus in on is that. That's what we sound like. Are we not New York with multiple teams? We have 2 baseball teams. We have 2 NFL teams. We have, I guess you can count almost 3 hockey teams, and then we have 2 basketball teams as well. We have more than anyone else, and this is our front page story. And this the Pope, the king of radio, is getting his 7.5 hour show broken in because Alex Rodriguez is taking it to bat in March.
It wasn't even just the front page; it was how it was written too. It was A-Rod singles, and then it was an asterisk with the reference to the PEDs.
Right.
So it was like a sensational headline, but at the same time, like they went low, and I mean, A-Rod, he's not a big deal. I don't know why we're
I think he is a big deal. I think he needs to be covered.
I don't think he's a big deal where he gets the front page of the freaking New York Post in the first week of March. I think that's absurd.
His plan.
If you want to put something on the back page, say like A-Rod plays his first game in a year and a half. That's fine. And
ESPN did it too. ESPN broke into it too. They surely had bat. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, if you think I'm wrong, anyone listen to this, tweet at me, call me, whatever you want. Like, say, Eddie, you're an idiot because A-Rod's news. Try to convince me that his play in the field deserves this.
No, the news story is him playing again. The news story is not him singling or, saying, oh, like, this is the first time he's singling off the stuff, in however many years. That's not, like, the story. The story is him returning. And the story is him.
I mean, this reminds me of like when McGuire was chasing the home run record, and when Barry Bonds was trying to break the whole time, and they broke into him. That's a story.
That's a story.
I mean, the common theme there is you had to take juice, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like we have it's almost a shame that and I like A-Rod. I mean, I like him for I like the whole story behind him. I just think it's. I like him in the sense that I feel like people get on his case way too much and are way more harsh on him than other past users. But I think right now it's almost offensive to the other teams in New York that just do not get the coverage like everyone else. You have a team, like I said, you have 2 first-place hockey teams. You have a basketball team who's atrocious, but at the same time, they're a story because you know what? They're in the running for a top pick, and all these college basketball teams are playing. I mean, and Phil Jackson getting fined. You have a massive NFL trade that affects the divisions of both our New York football teams that play in. You have, the Mets who could have a very good season this year, and they're arguably one of their best hitters is getting a lot of flack for what he thought was a harmless comment. Which I might add that Billy Beane himself said today on Boomer and Carton that it was harmless and he's not a malicious person whatsoever, and he knows he's sorry and they will have future talks. So if the guy himself said that, I think he should probably have Taylor Murray's case. But buying a newspaper and seeing that, or listening to Francesa and having Sweeney Murray come on saying, Sweeney's here, how's A-Rod's bat? He's single to left. Thanks for that.
Okay.
I don't. Okay. I mean,
it was good at bat. It was his first spring training at bat of the year. It was good. It was good at bat.
I don't know. Like I said, we're playing in a small town in Texas. That's what it feels like. We have nothing else going on. Not in the mecca of sports. Not in New York City where we have 100 teams in every league.
Well, this is always and always will be a Yankee town. That's just the way it is. So, in that sense, I could see why. But, I mean, I'll stand by my argument, which is the same as yours. I don't think, we should be following A-Rod as deeply as what the media is allowing.
People are obsessed with him. It's sad.
It really is sad. And the worst part is you fall into 2 categories. You're either, the person who's, so pumped that A-Rod's coming back. And, I'm really, really excited A-Rod's coming back.
Well,
I'm not going to lie.
I think they need him. They need him.
No, absolutely they need him. But then there are people out there who just detest A-Rod so much, and they detest him to the point where it's they're going to continue to follow him throughout the year, and, they're going to follow him so closely to the point where they want to see him fail. And, that's why he's getting all of this attention, because it's these, ESPN and, the newspapers and, every other media outlet who's going to cover him throughout the course of the year, they're catering to these specific, that specific niche audience.
Well, I agree to that. I mean, and we're adding fuel to the fire by covering A-Rod too. But we're doing it the opposite way, saying how crazy other people are. Quick breaking news: Maurice Jones-Drew retired from the NFL.
That's a big story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy we grew up with watching.
Very underrated.
He had a good career.
He was very underrated running back from our generation. Considering when you look at, we had LaDainian Tomlinson.
Right.
We had Sean Alexander. We had
right.
Priest Holmes. We had Adrian Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing one.
Larry Johnson? No.
Steven Jackson.
Steven
Jackson was very good. We grew up in an era with a lot of really good running backs.
Sure.
So he was always... he was very good for, a really short period of time. He was 1,300 yards, the receptions. He was, top 10 in standard and PPR fantasy drafts. He was that.
And he attends his own drafts. He's a very big... He's well-liked in the media. He does a very good job with fans, and he was on... I believe he's on episodes of The League, and he's big into fantasy drafts and all that kind of stuff. So any player who gives back to the fans and does some fun stuff, I always appreciate.
He was an immensely productive player for a team that was... at his best years, they weren't really they were good. They weren't really that good.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy too to think about. I remember him playing for UCLA wearing number 21 as Maurice Drew, not Jones Drew.
Right. Me too.
And now that this guy, and he was then a couple of years ago. Me and Joe were big fantasy guys. We have a great league going with really really awesome. Our friends are really good at this. I don't give them credit a lot, but I'll give them credit for this. They're pretty good at fantasy football. And it's just nuts how you read these things and saying, Maurice Jones-Drew is old over the hill. And it's like, damn, I'm getting old. That's really what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. This guy was in college and he plays in the NFL. I mean,
he was only drafted, I think, in 2006.
Well, that goes to show.
By that measure, he hasn't even been in the league 10 years.
Right, and that goes to show, the NFL, the shelf life of running backs is very small. That's foreshadowing for probably our next conversation.
Yeah, we're going to do it?
Yeah, my one last thing on Maurice Jones-Drew is that my favorite story about him was that he used to wear number 21, like I said, and he wore 32 because all 32 teams passed on him in the draft, which I thought was fun. But it's scary how running backs now.
And they almost passed on him twice. Not once.
I didn't know that.
He was at the end of the second round.
Oh, right. So he wanted to show it to the leagues, and good for him. He had a good career, and it just really sucks in plain language that running backs are not what they used to be. It's rare you see these physical specimens who come in and can carry the ball 300-400 times and just be totally immune from these injuries and just wearing down. And he gave it his all, and he had a good career, just a short career. And running backs, I mean, they said the average is between 3 and 4 seasons, and he got past that, but it's just very tough. So it's interesting because the biggest trade in, like I said, recent NFL history was LeSean McCoy, the face of the franchise for the Eagles, the one rock-solid guy they had, been the most productive back stat-wise in the NFL since he's joined the league the past 5 years. He's only 26 years old. And yeah, he's, a bit of a loudmouth. He has some issues. They got rid of Deshaun Jackson last year. So, it showed that Chip Kelly took over the locker room. They are rumored, there was more news today saying the Jets are picking 6 and Mariota's there. The Eagles will move everything they could to the Jets to go make that pick. And, they'll move heaven and earth to get Mariota, who I'm not even, me and Joe will get into draft discussions later on, but it shows this is Chip Kelly's team, and as much as it was Chip Kelly's team, I don't see how. I never saw this move coming. I don't see how anyone could have this on their radar, no matter how crazy it was.
My biggest thing is I could see why they traded McCoy, but the deal itself is very odd. It's an odd combination of players being swapped, and it's an odd combination of teams doing the swap.
I agree with that. And before we get into the technicalities of this trade, well, it's about time to do. It's our 4th podcast, so we should probably get into doing our first segment of the fun things we had planned, like we promised you in the first one. So one of them was the Armchair GM. If you are the GM, you could either say we're gonna do a little role playing here. Hey now, and Joe will be role playing as Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM. He'll tell me why he made it, although I don't think Howie Roseman had anything to do with this trade. I think this trade has Chip Kelly written all over, and I think you'd agree with that. And I will be the Buffalo Bills GM, who Joseph was Whaley.
Doug Whaley.
So Joe was adamant about this trade. I'm adamant about this trade for different reasons. So I'd love to hear your explanation as to why you pulled the trigger on this.
Okay. First things first, I believe that this year, especially with the Patriots and Belichick, they proved that you can kind of continue to win in this league with a running back by committee approach, or you could do so without being near the tops in the league in the running back department.
Mm-hmm.
So, not taking anything away from Chip Kelly's offense, because Chip Kelly runs a very run-heavy offense. But at the same time, in his 2 years into the league, he won the division in his first year, where he had a really great season from LeSean McCoy.
Right.
And in the second year, he missed the playoffs, but he was still contending for the division well into December with McCoy, who was not as nearly as productive as he was the season before. So, from the standpoint of knowing that running backs in this league are becoming increasingly devalued. Now, this obviously doesn't include the top guys, because there are guys out there like Marshawn Lynch and guys like Jamal Charles who are good, who stay good as they're approaching 30. Usually the ceiling for a running back, you peak when you're 26, 27, 28, usually one of those 3 years, and then you fall off a cliff. Think of Chris Johnson right now. He's being cut by the Jets, and he may not be picked up again. He's another candidate who may sneakily, may not be able to find a job in the next couple of months. He may have to retire. You never know. But right now the league is kind of trending away towards the running back. Now, for Kelly's mindset, there are 2 reasons why he does this deal. Number one is he believes that he can draft anybody, because this running back class this year in this year's draft is very deep. So he believes that he can go out and either draft a running back or get a running back like a Pierre Thomas in free agency, use him, use whoever they draft, use Darren Sproles. I don't know if they still have Chris Polk or not. He's like fourth stringer. They have he's in his mindset. He's thinking my offense is so tailor made to. He's gotten like even production out of Nick Foles and Mark Sanchez, quarterbacks who don't even necessarily completely fit his scheme perfectly. Like he's gotten productive, really good seasons out of both of these guys. So in Chip Kelly's mindset, he thinks that he can scheme like his offensive scheme. He can bring in guys who can have career seasons, who could have good seasons here. But ideally, he wants to work towards getting players that he wants to get to, and he wants to look to the future. So with that being said, he thinks he can get a fraction of McCoy's production at the fraction of the cost. So he got a fraction of McCoy's 2013 production in 2014, but he had to pay McCoy's extra salary for it. Now, there are two assets, there are actually multiple assets in this deal. The first asset is the trade, which we actually haven't even gotten to yet. The actual trade was LeSean McCoy for Kiko Alonso. Now, Kiko Alonso was hurt this past season. He was out for the entire season, so it's not even a guarantee that he's going to come back this season healthy. But with that being said, is he won the 2013 Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he quickly showed that he could very well be one of the best linebackers in pass coverage in the entire NFL. And in a league that is moving more towards the pass covering linebackers like a Kiko Alonso, even guys like a Manti Te'o in San Diego, they're becoming increasingly more valuable. So Chip Kelly says, I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to get Kiko Alonso, the 2013 Rookie of the Year, and I'm hoping that I'm buying low on him because linebacker...
Wait, buying low for Kiko Alonso by trading the most productive running back in the NFL?
Yeah, absolutely.
How's that buying low?
You don't know if McCoy...
I don't mean to cut you off, because this is your segment, but come on.
You don't know if LeSean McCoy's 2014 is the start of something, or if it's the outlier McCoy's going to bounce back next year.
Can you think of like 1,300 yards last year?
He had a good season last year. He didn't have as good of a season. I understand this, but it's all about value. I'm going to get the Defensive Rookie of the Year 2013, a pass coverage linebacker who's entering his third season in the NFL. And I'm going to take the chance that his injury was sort of a fluke and that by midseason he's going to go back to his old form. And I'm going to have a linebacker who is 3 years younger than LeSean McCoy, who will be contributing on my team for twice as long as McCoy will be right now. Now, the second asset that I was alluding to is pure cap space, because that's exactly what this move was for. LeSean McCoy's cap hit was $12 million, which is pretty high for a running back. All things considering, you said this before, he is one of the most productive running backs in the league. Top 3, 4, and absolutely no question. But do you want to commit $12 million to a running back when your system specifically can get the most out of running backs and mobile quarterbacks? Do you want to pay that much money, or do you want to pay a fraction of the cost, have a productive system where you know you could get good rushing production from other players and not have to pay McCoy? So they take a chance on Alonso, which, depending on how you feel about him, I think Alonso's a really good player, and I think it's well worth the risk. And I think getting the $12 million in cap space is an excellent move, because now the Eagles have over $30 million in cap space, and now they can go into free agency and they can tell players like they also had to cut DeMeco Ryans, which is another $6 million in savings. No, from what I was projecting,
I thought they cut Trent Cole.
Well, they cut Trent Cole, but they're looking to cut DeMeco Ryans because he was
because everyone on their team was good.
He tore his Achilles last year. I'm still not entirely sure if Trent Cole's really gone for good. He may come back at a reduced salary, but that's another thing for another time. But like I said, they have now I was reading between about $30 and $35 million in cap space. So they could very well go out there. They obviously need secondary help. Their offense really isn't that bad, but they're going to do everything they can to try to trade up and get Marcus Mariota. So depending on how you feel about Mariota, I think he's going to be good along with Winston.
Well, I hope he stinks because I'm the Bills GM.
I know. I really hope. I can't wait for yours. But like I was saying, they're going to go into free agency with all this money in cap room, so they could go out there and they can go to like an Ndamukong Suh. They could go out there to whoever they want. There are going to be a bunch of defensive backs on the open market, and they need a secondary, and they can go and they can plug these holes in this way with their cap room. And they may go out there and they may get a cornerback or a defensive lineman or even an offensive lineman because they're going to need to retool the offensive line very soon. Their skill position-wise, they're pretty okay. Tight ends, they're okay with Ertz and Selleck. Wide receiver, they're okay. They're going to re-sign Macklin. They have Jordan Matthews, who is pretty solid as a rookie. They got Riley Cooper, who's a solid 3-4, league average 3-4. They need a quarterback. Running back, I'm not concerned about because Kelly's system lends itself to being really productive at running back. So that's my argument. I think with the money that they opened up with McCoy, they'll be able to go out and fill in holes. If they go out and get Mariota, I think Mariota with Chip Kelly is going to be a match made in heaven because he's been so smitten and so hell-bent on going out there and getting him that I feel like if Mariota goes to the Eagles, Kelly's going to get the most out of Mariota that any other team in the league would get. So, the floor is yours.
Well, you made all my arguments for me, and you made my job as Bill GM very, very easy. I brought in Rex Ryan. I brought in a guy, Matt Castle, who is an upgrade over EJ Manuel. I'm not calling him an MVP candidate, but he's a guy who can get the job done. I have a guy, Kiko Alonso did not want to play for the Bills. And I traded a guy with a major knee surgery, one of the worst injuries you get in sports, a torn ACL, a major knee surgery, a guy whose skill set was based on speed and pass coverage, like you said. And I traded him for a 26-year-old running back, not a 31-year-old running back, a guy who's 26, if people call a down year as 1,300 yards. If 1,300 yards is a down year, well, you know what? I think all Jet fans around here would take a down year from anyone. To me, this move fell right in their lap. Even Rex Ryan was a guy who wants to run the ball. The defense is great. He wants to have, the ground and pound attack, very similar to the Jets, where you have a stout defense, you run the ball, first down, second down, hopefully you're close enough on third down, you can run it in. And you have a guy, McCoy creates space himself. You know how he runs. He's a very shifty guy. On the flip side, third and short, you have him coming out of the backfield. All you have to do is dump the ball off to him. He's a very, very versatile running back. He does everything you'd ask from him. He's not a one-dimensional back. He can run it outside. You can run between the tackles. You could dump the ball off to him. The screen game. He makes life so much easier as a quarterback. Yeah, his cap hit's kind of high, but his cap is high because he's been the most productive back since he's been in the league. Fact, not opinion. Fact. All right. So I don't get your whole thing saying, you can make up the production. You said to me on Twitter, it's like you can make up 75% of the production for him. But why would you want to drop that 25% even if it's only 25% less? If you have a guy who's the face of your franchise, even as a business move too, why do you want to remove him? Why do you want the guy who sells jerseys, sells tickets, got you? You said they won the division his first year. Last year, how many games were they missed the playoffs by? Were they 2 games out, or were the Eagles out?
I believe they finished 9-7, and Dallas finished 12-4.
Oh, they're okay. So they missed the wild card by, was it a game or
they
2?
They missed the wild card by 2 games.
2 games.
They were in it until.
So what planet do I have to go to see where Pierre Thomas can make up the games, the losses that LeSean McCoy couldn't? Or why is moving heaven and earth to get Mariota, a rookie who a lot of people are not sold on, better than Nick Foles, who, when healthy, his first year, had the greatest touchdown to interception ratio in the history of the NFL? Am I missing something? If McCoy and Foles didn't fit in Chip Kelly's system, well, it did a damn good job in it. I don't get why. You can interject too. I'm done. I don't have to rant. I just don't get where you're coming from. I don't get why you think that it's safe to trade for a running back coming off a major knee surgery who did not want to be in Buffalo. It's like they traded a bunch of garbage for a treasure. That's the way I look at it. The guy did not want to be there. He didn't want to be in Buffalo. He did not fit in Rex Ryan's scheme. Great. Rex Ryan will go and sign David Harris from the Jets. Probably from the Jets. He'll put David Harris back in the middle. He'll get 130 tackles.
That's going to stink.
And he doesn't... I get running back is devalued. Again, I've said on this podcast, running back is the most devalued, least important position in all sports. And I still agree with that. But he's still a special player. He'll still score your touchdowns. He'll still catch your balls. He'll still gain your yards. He'll move your offense. He's perfect for the Bills. I think the Bills make themselves a serious contender. Their defense is legit.
They're missing everything but a quarterback.
Well, again, I know they signed Matt Castle, who could game manage and who'll get them. Rex did it with Sanchez. I mean, this team is very similar. They have a very good defense. They have a playmaker receiver, and they have now a 26-year-old running back who is the best at, you could argue, the best running back in the game, who catches balls, who could get you yards, just making you miss. And all they had to do was trade a linebacker coming off a major knee surgery. Yes, he's good. He had a great season. But I don't. I mean, for the Eagles, you're so close to the playoffs. They made the playoffs 2 years ago.
They made the playoffs 2 years ago. They went 10-6 and they won the NFC East.
So they go. So now, I mean, essentially what they're doing is they're rebuilding.
They're not rebuilding.
If you trade your franchise guy, if you cut Trent Cole, you trust D'Amico Ryans, and you're going to move Foles for Mariota.
Well, Ryans was hurt with an Achilles injury.
I understand that, but you're getting all these guys who help your team.
I think Chip Kelly is in a good spot because...
I think Chip Kelly's in a bad spot. And if it does
I
not work out, Chip Kelly's going to be fired because he's either going to go down as either...
he'll be fired in 2 years.
So then he'll either be known as the greatest coach in Eagles history who changed their culture. His philosophies worked. He brought in his Oregon Ducks guys, and they were amazing for him. On the flip side, he'll be a colossal bust, and he'll stay in the college ranks if he gets a job forever because his gimmicks, they don't work. And he had a roster with a lot of talent, and he got rid of all of it. He got rid of Jackson. He got rid of McCoy. He's probably going to get rid of Foles. Trent Cole's gone. He's been in the team for a decade. He's gone. So there goes your pass rusher. D'Amico Ryans was a Pro Bowler for the Texans, and he's a good middle linebacker. And yeah, they got to go in now if he's healthy. And I get Ryan's injury is basically on the same level of being devastating as Alonso, but you had at least he was on your team. You don't have to trade anyone for D'Amico Ryans anymore. He's there. Now you're moving McCoy. He's the one bright spot you had. Again, a down year, 1,300 yards. What team without maybe the Seahawks with Lynch, or maybe if the Vikings get Peterson back, or maybe the Cowboys with Murray if they stay on their teams. What team would not want a guy who's down near 1,300 yards, who also catch balls as many as he does? You would kill for that. Any team would. So I don't get this whole gamble. I don't get if you're 9-7, you were 10-6 the year before, won the division. I don't get why you want to risk it when you were so close. That's my whole thing. You could retool in the draft. You could retool in free agency. You go to war with McCoy. You hopefully you see if Foles is fully healthy. And, he develops another year with his receivers. You got back Macklin. See what he does in the draft. Like I said, free agency. Add pieces to the team. Your O-line's still pretty good. Really good. I mean, they cut Harriman's too, but they have their center's great. His name's the crazy white dude. They have Jason Peters, left tackle, good O-line, when healthy. And they're basically sabotaging it because he wants to fit this, it's like almost like the Knicks with the triangle. You refuse to take players because of... You wanted to fit a mold, a system. Like Chip Kelly, everyone in the NFL is not from Oregon. Everyone in the NFL can't run your offense. He did. I mean, again, Joe, you can interject whenever. But all I'm saying is the point is they did a damn good job with Chip Kelly that first year. It looked like he could be a good coach. He won 10 games. He won 9 games. The Cowboys had a phenomenal season. Whatever, injuries, whatever happens to them, they have to retool and get better. They could retool with the draft. They could retool in free agency. Why do you mortgage the ground you've gained by selling off everyone? You have to convince me on that. I'm so lost.
I think in this case, it's taking one step back to take 2 steps forward.
But when are these 2 steps forward coming?
I think Chip Kelly has proved enough in his first 2 years that he can win with a roster that's not perfectly his own. And I don't think that the roster will ever be perfectly his own because this is the NFL and there are too many factors.
I don't know. I was looking that way.
He won with a roster that was probably somewhere between 50 and 75% of the roster that he's the roster that he ideally wants. So in this case, I can see where you're coming from. That they made a lot of progress in his first 2 years. But at the same time, if you take that step back, he could very well take those 2 steps forward as soon as this year. Because when you look at the NFC, the 49ers are on their way down. St. Louis still doesn't have a quarterback. Arizona, God knows what's going to happen with Carson Palmer in the NFC West. So the only team you're competing out there with is Seattle. The NFC South was atrocious this year, all season, all-time worst. The NFC North is essentially a toss-up every year. The only team that's really consistently good is Green Bay. So you're dealing with a division with Dallas, New York, and Washington. Washington has been on the way down. They're going to probably unload RG3 soon. They're still in chaos. Jay Gruden is not a good fit there, and he's going to get fired in the next 2 years. Dallas, not to say that they peaked this year with Romo, but I doubt that they win 12 games.
But you're making my point for me because you're agreeing with me. You're saying that the NFL, NFC's in flux.
I'm saying that
progress.
If you stand pat, he may never win a Super Bowl, but he can consistently be a good team. The way he's going about this now is he's looking to get the players that he's ideally wants to win with, and he's won at every single level. I mean, granted, he's never won a national championship. He's never won a Super Bowl yet.
That's another
but
thing.
He's been a consistent winner at every single level. For Eagles fans, I think it's worth it to take the risk to see where Kelly is going with this.
I think most of
at
Philadelphia
the very
wants
worst,
to burn the city down.
At the very worst, he's probably going to be 8-8 this year. At the very worst, I can't see them falling off a cliff and winning just 4 games.
So they went from 10 wins to in his first year to 9
I'm
wins.
I'm not saying that. They could very well win 11, 12, 13 games next year.
You honestly think that?
What?
You honestly think that?
Absolutely. Under the right circumstances, he can very well win 11, 12, 13 games next year.
How do you... Wait, what?
I said he could win 11, 12, 13 games next year. I don't think that's
So the Eagles could win 13 games
if everything breaks right.
By moving Foles, by moving McCoy. So now you're out of quarterback. You're out a running back. Okay, granted, your receiving core is
Dallas
decent.
is going to come back down to earth. We don't know what the Giants are going to do.
That's fine. Dallas still has talent. They'll
the best teams in the NFC East are Green Bay and Seattle. And after that, it's a muddy middle. The best team out of that bunch is Philadelphia. Out of the
that's just false. They're not sold on either quarterback they have, and they got rid of LeSean McCoy,
which is why they're going after a quarterback. Kelly specifically is going after a quarterback that he thinks is.
That means you're telling me that Marcus Mariota will step in game 1 and be way better than Foles was at his best.
No, he's not going to do that.
So then, how are they going to win 13 games?
But I said if everything breaks well, and hypothetically,
yes,
let's say
if Mariota comes in and wins Rookie of the Year and NFL MVP, and they sign Pierre Thomas, who all of a sudden was average, was probably below average at some points, and always injured in New Orleans, will come in and be a better running back than LeSean McCoy, and win again, and he'll win running back of the year. Then yes, everything works like that, Joe. They will win 13 games.
Well, I'm saying if they have to stick with Foles, there's no reason why they can't win 11, 12, 13 games. If they draft Mariota,
but then they just got worse. I'm saying that if they stick with Foles, fine, but why wouldn't you stick with McCoy too, who led the league in rushing the year prior to this year, and it was a down year with 1,300 yards alone. Not even counting that's just rushing. Not even counting his reception yards. Or it could be wrong. Either way, great running back, most productive in the NFL. How is getting rid of both of them making them better? I'm just still missing this answer.
Because the NFC is so bad. It's really
Joe,
it's going to be bad next year.
The NFC should have, with all intents and purposes, should have won the Super Bowl this year.
But that's Seattle. Seattle is the team you want to emulate.
But is Green Bay bad? Dallas okay? Dallas will win 12 games. Dallas can still win 10, 11. They could win 12 games. Dallas has a quarterback. Dallas has a legit top 5 receiver. Dallas had the best running back in the game last year.
But they're not going to have the top running back next year, and their defense is
DeMarco Murray was always hurt, and they were still pretty good. They were still good. They were still a good
Do you
team.
agree with DeMarco Murray leaving Dallas?
If they don't re-sign him, I don't have a problem with it. I think DeMarco Murray is going to have.
So why would you have a problem?
Because
with the Eagles not having McCoy?
Because I don't think DeMarco Murray is the same. I think LeSean McCoy has proven year in year out he's a good, reliable running back who has never been injured. And Murray misses games here and there. Murray also had he's older,
but he also set the Cowboys' all-time rushing yards record this year.
Do I think will they get the same production from a running back? No, they're absolutely not. Do I think they have enough talent outside of Murray to win near the same amount of games? Yes, way more. You
think Dallas is talented on defense?
No, but it worked last year.
It's not going to work again this year.
Well, again, but the same way, I don't think that the Eagles will win 13 games without Foles or McCoy.
That was really the 13 was really pushing it.
13,
but
that's absurd,
with Foles 10 to 12, it's a fair estimate considering the current environment in the NFC East. But that's
I would
with
say 10
Foles.
with Foles and McCoy. I think right now, they're pushing. Honest to God, I think the Eagles right now are pushing the Redskins for the worst record in the NFC.
They won 9 games this year with Foles and Sanchez.
Right, and
so you're saying they can only win one more game with Foles, especially with
I'm saying
Foles
a healthy
Foles.
No, I said you said between 10 and 12. And I said I would say 10 is my opinion of where they would end around the season with a healthy Foles and with LeSean McCoy on the roster, with Macklin, Matthews, the tight end from Stanford, Ertz. That's a good offense. I'm okay with that offense. If you're trading away both those, if you're trading away Foles or whoever for Mariota, and you have to groom him, and you trade away your best player, one of the best players the Eagles have had in years, more important than the Donovan McNabb ever was. You're going to trade him away for a middle linebacker coming off a major knee surgery, and you're telling me they're going to win 13 games? Who am I podcasting with? I mean, am I in Bizarro World right now? I'm still missing the answer as to why you're saying everything goes right, but what is going right? So you're saying Pierre Thomas and Marcus Mariota are better than Foles and McCoy.
They can load up on defense, and I said if they keep Foles around,
but they're not going to.
But I know that. I told you. I think they're going to do everything in their power to get Mariota.
I think they're moving Kevin up to get Mariota.
In that case, they're definitely going to take a step back. But if I personally believe Mariota's going to pan out. So I think.
But even if he does, do you think he'll be that? Do you think he'll be at his peak in year one?
In year one, absolutely
right.
Not.
That's the whole point. But then I'm saying is then. But
I think it's worth it to take a step back if you think you're going to take 3 steps forward.
Not every quarterback is Andrew Luck. You can't come in year one and be that good, and they just don't have the. Getting rid of McCoy, you don't have the talent around you.
I think they're plenty talented everywhere else. And I think
they're not as talented at receiver as the Cowboys are or the Giants, and they're
no, absolutely not. But they're good. They're good enough.
Probably not the Redskins either.
But they're good enough, and their scheme works. It does. Kelly runs a very.
It worked with Foles, who was unbelievable his first year as a healthy quarterback.
Which is why
his ratio is absurd. Great, huge quarterback, great arm. Big fan of Foles. Big fan of LeSean McCoy. I love him as a running back. He does it all. Everything you could ask for. Rex Ryan got a brand new Ferrari for Christmas. Literally what he got for St. Patty's Day. Close enough.
Thinking about it, he probably should have tried to pry Foles away too. Considering they were going so hard after Mariota.
You don't know what the Bills right now. If they can go, the Bills can go draft a quarterback and groom him for the future. They could have Castle this year, see what they could do. Have him around. Don't forget, Castle won 11 games with the Patriots. You know that. We talk about this all the time. He
also won a division with Kansas City.
That's what I'm saying.
He's a fair league average quarterback.
This draft has a lot of mid-round talent QBs. They go and get a guy like Bryce Petty or the guy from Colorado State or someone along the lines of that. Who knows what they do? Who knows if they make a massive move? Right now they're making a ton of moves. Who knows if they don't come up and go ask the Bucks for the pick? Because by all accounts, the Bucks aren't really. When teams are infatuated with the player. Everyone knew for a year the Colts wanted Andrew Luck. It was in your heart of hearts. Do you think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in love with Jameis Winston?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think it's a possibility the Buffalo Bills could be on a move for another quarterback to groom under Matt Castle? Right,
they're gonna need to give up a lot.
Well, even if they draft one, all I'm saying is they're doing it the right way. They have if the Eagles want to groom a quarterback because they don't think Foles is a fit, they see something in him that's not going to be a fit. Wouldn't it make sense to keep your running back? Who, if Peterson took half year doesn't play, if Lynch retires, you could anoint the best running back in the whole NFL. Does it make sense to keep him along with Macklin and Matthews to have him be better? But now you're removing him. You're removing your safety blanket. I don't see how this helps him in any way whatsoever. So I don't know. I again, if you want to make the prediction right, all right, now I'm putting a gun to your head right now. Not literally. I wish I could. But how many wins do the Eagles end up with this year?
With Foles, 11.
No. That's a good, because I don't know how to.
With Foles, 11. With Mariota, 9.
9 wins with Mariota?
Yeah, absolutely.
And who is their running back?
Doesn't matter.
What do you mean doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
So
Kelly will get anybody, and he'll be productive. And he'll rely on Darren Sproles a little bit more than he did last year. Not saying that Sproles is going to rack up carries. He's not going to rack up 200 carries, but he'll probably finish somewhere between 150 and 200 carries. They'll get a running back. They'll get a running back in free agency. I think with Foles, they can win 11 games. Because I think Dallas is going to come back down to earth. I don't think Washington.
Losing McCoy it's a huge.
I don't think Washington's going to challenge anybody.
No one does. No one does. That was not on the argument. That was not in the question. I'm with you on that. I think
Dallas. It's very possible that Dallas and Philadelphia flip flop. I think Dallas comes back down to earth a little bit, wins 8 or 9 games. I think the Giants will finish somewhere in that, the Giants can win 8 games. The Giants can win 10 games. The Giants can win 10 games and go back to the Super Bowl. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, they're a strange team.
They're a very strange team. I could see, like I said before, 13 wins was very lofty and it was a dumb statement. But I think with Foles, 11 wins is 11-5 is a very solid benchmark, even if they're losing McCoy. If they draft Mariota and they end up getting rid of Foles, which will probably recoup picks in the process, which they'll use in the draft and continue to reload. And Kelly's been very solid in his first 2 seasons in the draft too. So with Mariota, I would say 9-7 is a good estimate. I don't think they'd be a playoff team, but I think that they would definitely be close to a 500 team, slightly above average 500 team. With Foles 11-5, with Mariota 9-7.
And what about the Bills?
Right now, they're interesting because I think their quarterback issue is very. But
I think their quarterback situation is better than the Eagles.
Better than the Eagles? You think Matt Castle is better than Nick Foles?
I don't think that Nick Foles will be the starting quarterback for the Eagles 100%. I think right now, if those are the only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, I think it's a competition in camp to start. I think Sanchez will have a fair shot. I think if they get Mariota, I think it's not even a question.
Well, Mariota start from day one. It doesn't even matter who's on the team. They'll start from day one.
And that's the reason why Castle is worth more wins than Marcus Mariota in year 1.
Right now, I don't know.
I understand you don't...
I think Castle is going to have a lot of the same impact that Kyle Orton did last year. They're going to win. He'll win a bunch of games. He'll lose the games.
I understand. And the Bills didn't have the worst. They didn't have the worst running back situation.
I don't think the Bills are better than 8-8, but I don't think they're worse than 6-10 either.
They're definitely going to be better than they were last year.
I don't see that. I think if Miami, the Dolphins really truly make a run and Ndamukong Suh like they've been rumored to, they're really looking to put the pedal to the metal in free agency.
They're losing Wallace. They're.
But I think Tannehill's better than what the Bills have.
I'd agree with that. I agree that Tannehill's better. I agree the Dolphins are on the upward trend. I think the Bills are on the upward trend too.
I think if the Dolphins are on the uptick, somebody's got to be on the downtick, and it's not going to be the Patriots.
I think it's the Jets.
The Jets are already bad.
And I think it's the Patriots too, actually.
Well, I think the Patriots will come back down to earth a little bit. They'll probably win 11 or 12 games. I mean, people,
they won, whatever.
That's coming back down to earth for the Patriots.
They still did struggle at certain points during the season. I think that
I think the Bills are in a weird spot because I think they're a good team at everywhere else but quarterback.
But
I think definitely most.
But important. I think Castle, you're going to get from Castle, that he won't cost you games, but he won't win you games. I think that's fine for the year 1 with them.
Which is why I can't see them finishing better than 8.
But they're trying to find their answer. You never know if they could steal games. Again, you're forgetting. Yes, their running back situation last year was not the worst in the league. Having Jackson and Spiller are not the worst combo. And I agree with you that running back is devalued. Your problem is that you're devaluing the importance of LeSean McCoy. That's my issue because I think that he's worth wins himself. I think he'll take over games himself, and you don't know how much it makes it easy for a quarterback to have a guy back there who could win the game on the ground. You could dump the ball off to him, and he changes the whole offense, and he changes how defenses look at you. I think he's a key part for the Eagles to have if you're grooming Mariota. They lost that now, and you have no answer back there. If you think Sproles and Chris Polk is the answer, I want what you're having.
I don't think they're the answer, but where we're going to agree to disagree is I think Kelly will find some way to either draft a player or get somebody in free agency or find some way to recoup most of McCoy's production. And I think they don't need 100% of LeSean McCoy's production to be a good team. So that's why I agree with the trade, because I think the money would be better spent elsewhere. And I think that in this league in particular, you can take a chance and hope somebody pans out like a Frank Gore where you can keep them productive for a long time into their 30s. But especially in this league in particular, teams, they don't get rid of players until it's too late. So that they probably get rid of McCoy too soon. You can make an argument, and you
3-4 years too early. 3-4 years too early.
I think at this point,
just because of the fact that he catches the ball so well, he prolongs his career.
I think it's a calculated risk, but I think it's a well calculated risk because I think Chip Kelly has proved enough.
I don't, because they're a team that's not supposed. They were not supposed to rebuild. They were a team in the hunt to actually make the playoffs. That's the reason why doing.
I think the Eagles are a playoff team next year.
So you think by trading McCoy and getting rid of your starting quarterback, it's a better move
for them for the future? 3 years from now?
No, not for the future. I'm talking about you think
for next year.
No, it's not. They're not a playoff team. They were a team who was in the cusp of the playoffs, and they ruined. That's what I'm trying to say. They didn't have 4 wins last year. They had 10. They had 9, and you're getting rid of a whole chunk of wins by getting rid of Foles and getting rid of McCoy. To me, it's the most obvious answer. I don't get if you're on the cusp of the playoffs, why do you remodel your whole entire team? I've never seen that before. This reminds me of the time when the Vancouver Canucks lost to the Bruins, and you said
I was right.
And you said that they should have traded Kessler and the Sedins and Luongo for a team who went to a Game 7.
They came very, very close.
I don't know. No, Joe, I'm not going to get into that and even waste time because it's absurd.
They
went to a Game 7.
Kessler was overboard, but they ended up trading Kessler and Schneider.
Years later. Schneider wasn't
the point being is they never got back to that point again. So at that
point,
they should have obviously
reached. And the Eagles, Foles was hurt last year. They had to use Mark Sanchez.
This is like apples and oranges.
Mark Sanchez, no, but the idea is that you don't rebuild when you're on the cusp of something.
Well, I told you they're not rebuilding; they're retooling.
Trading your best player and your quarterback is rebuilding.
I'm not even remotely close to an Eagles fan, but I trust Chip Kelly.
I'm a Giants fan, and I'm saying that they're. Like I should be happy about that. I'm actually pissed off that they did something this dumb.
That's the fan in you. That's the true football and fan in you coming out.
Well, I'm just putting myself in the shoes of if I was an Eagles fan. If I was a Giants fan, the Giants traded Odell Beckham and they drafted a guy to take over for Eli Manning right now. I would say that the team's going to get worse. That's just the way it is. I don't know. I guess we spent too much time on that. What do we got left? We
got more trades. We got the NHL.
Oh, good. That was another segue, right? Because I said the Vancouver Canucks versus the Boston Bruins.
We disagreed on the McCoy Alonso trade, but we agreed on the Keith Yandle trade. So that's a good thing.
No, I think any Rangers fan should agree to this. I mean, the Rangers. You could say the 2 gaping holes, not gaping holes. They're a great team. The 2 holes they had was the face-off guy, whoever could play in Tanner Glass's spot. So I guess it's 3. And then not that. But
you can fix the Tanner Glass
right,
problem.
Right. Well, I mean, Jesper Fast came back. I mean, there you go. Exactly. I don't think the whole the John Moore, the Hunwick rotation was all that awful, but certainly it was it was the weakest part of the defense. Now you go a guy Keith Yandle, the probably the best puck moving defenseman, probably the best scoring defenseman in the NHL, not even just on the market. And we move a first round pick, Anthony Duclair. I'm not sure the other pieces. I know you got another prospect in return for Keith Yandle, playing the Arizona Coyotes, and we have him on contract for this year and next year. Cap hit not too awful. He works a lot of magic with at the blue line, and nothing else to be said. He had over 40 points already this year. He's a magician, and he's what the Rangers need. They brought in Dan Boyle for that, and he has not really lived up to that. Now you throw Keith Yandle in there. Yandle, Boyle, Klein, Stahl, Girardi, McDonough. That's probably as good as you can get going 6 deep right there. I like the move because I don't think there's idiots saying remortgage their future, trade the first round pick and Duclair. If anyone thought Duclair would come in and win the Rocket Richard Trophy or something, you're an idiot. He's not that guy. He has a ceiling. His ceiling to me, I thought best case scenario 20-25 goals. Where is he going to play in the Rangers? There's no open spots. Kevin Hayes emerges as a star. He's going to be awesome for us. JT Miller's been playing consistently now. He's going to play for us. He's a guy. Duclair's game is not meant for the lower lines. He's meant for the top half, the upper half. The Rangers don't have spots for him. Trading the first round pick, I mean, the Rangers played in the Cup last year. They're not rebuilding. They don't need to rely on first round picks at the end of the first round. So I don't care. They don't have a pick for the next 4 years. They have a core. They have a team built right now. They have Rick Nash in his prime. They have Henrik in his prime. They're going to be fine. All right. So no one stop crying about what Rangers fans relying on picks. We don't need. you're not going to get your savior, your franchise at pick 30 or 29 or whatever we're going to pick. You don't. We don't have 5 wins. The Rangers have a really good shot at being in the Cup again, and they have a really good shot at winning the Cup again. There's no bones about it. I don't know why people, fans are so stupid because you can never please them. If your team just playing the Cup, going for another Cup run, and they worry about the draft. The draft is something you worry about when your team sucks. So enough with the prospect. Enough with Duclair. We called him. He couldn't cut it. He couldn't cut it here. Plain and simple. Yeah, he's young, but he couldn't cut it right away. You know who did cut it from the start? Kevin Hayes. That's why he's here. That's why he's contributing. Watch the games. Stop. Just I'm sick of the whole negative reaction. The minute they fancy a first round pick, prospect. Oh, Duclair was a nice story, and when they're in practice early, in preseason. It wasn't the next coming of Sidney Crosby. You got a guy who could do everything from the blue line. Is he their best defender? No. That's what you have. That's what you have Mark Stahl for. That's what you have Ryan McDonough for. That's what Dan Girardi, who's been declining, but that's what you have him for. Yeah, Keith Yandle's not going to lock you down, not going to clear the crease, but that's not what his job is. It's simple as that. You agree with me, so what are your thoughts?
You took all my arguments.
There's no arguments
you took all. I know there's no argument made, but you took them all. 2 things. One, you said you can't find your franchise savior in the first round. But
you could.
But you can find him in the 7th round with the 255th overall pick.
That's another thing, too. Rangers have not been... they've not really been on the money with their first-round picks lately, when you think about it. I mean,
they're an excellent team. That's why I don't mind the first-round picks.
Stahl was really the last one.
Duclair himself was a 3rd-round pick.
Right.
They got Derek Stepan in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
They've gotten... Carl Hagelin was not a first-round pick.
Nope.
He was... What, was he a 2nd-round pick?
No. I just watched the thing the other day with him on it.
Was he a 3rd-round pick?
I think it was a 3rd round, yeah.
Okay, so he was a 3rd-round pick. Stepan was a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, like I said,
got all these guys.
They took Delzato, traded him. They took JT Miller in the 1st round. It took a really long time to get better. McElroy is still not on the team. Their first-round picks have not really, they traded they drafted Bobby Sanguinetti years ago. He's barely cracks the league. They're not been that great in the 1st round.
You can make the argument that the reason why the Rangers are the way they are right now is that because they've been so good at drafting in the middle rounds and finding guys off, Dan Girardi was an undrafted free agent.
Right.
So
Kevin Hayes is not our 1st round pick. He was the Blackhawks 1st round pick. We stole him. That's what it's about.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of our first round picks do pan out. Stahl was.
I said Stahl. I said Stahl.
Kreider was the first round pick.
Kreider was one I was forgetting. Kreider is the only really forward who's been great. Like I said, JT Miller's still learning.
I think Miller's going to be very good, though. But
I think I don't know.
His ceiling is going to be a good 2nd-line winger. Right now, he's a 3rd-line winger, but he's still young. But he's on a good team, so it's fine. The point that you were making before with Duclair is that, yes, absolutely, he needs top 6 minutes. And if he doesn't get top 6 minutes,
his game is
useless.
Right.
He's absolutely useless because he's not a checking line forward. He's not a forward you could throw on a 4th line. He's got to be a guy who develops into a 25, 30-goal scorer, and I believe he has that potential.
Sure.
But right now, you're dealing Duclair's potential for a proven top 5 puck-moving defenseman in the entire NHL. And I wrote about this the other day. Not that I feel like you're a big believer in advanced stats, but...
What do you mean? I like stats. Advanced stats.
Advanced stats? So you're a big fan of Corsi
and
the NHL stats?
The NHL ones are stupid. But I mean, in general, sabermetrics, advanced stats, we're in the NBA, Joe. It's a big deal now. So I do like that stuff. It interests me.
Yandle has been a plus player. Plus minus in the NHL, it's a negligible stat. But when you're somebody like a Rick Nash who plays in all 3 situations and you're a plus 20, that's the trademark of a great, truly great player.
Sure.
So in Yandle's case, he's an offensive defenseman, and there have been very big knocks on his defensive game. But despite all of that, in Arizona, he was a consistently plus player. So him being a consistently plus player means that his offensive game is so far ahead of everybody else that even if he's not the best defensive player, he's probably a league average defensive player. That makes him a great player. His Corsi numbers are fantastic. Last year he was a negative player because the Coyotes weren't a good team.
They stink. Yeah.
But this year he was a middling Corsi player, which means that despite the Coyotes being even worse than they were a year ago, he was excellent. So now he comes into a situation where he's playing with forwards on every single line. And this is another thing too you were bringing up. You said that the Rangers, this is an all-in move for the Rangers right now. Besides Rick Nash, besides Martin St. Louis, who may not be with the team next year, but that's another thing for another time. Who is their oldest forward? Now you got to think about this for a second. Who's the oldest forward on the Rangers?
You know the answer?
Is it Derek Stepan? Guess how old Derek Stepan is.
He's probably 2 or 3 years older than me.
He's 25, 26.
Yeah, exactly,
I'm pretty sure he's 25, turning 26.
You
can double check that.
Brassard's a first round pick, but he's young.
He's 27.
Yeah, they're all pre-30.
They're all pre-30.
Probably Don Moore.
Don Moore's in his 30s, but where does he play? He plays fourth line center.
And he does a damn good job, too.
He does a very damn good job. You can find fourth line centers everywhere. Carl Hagelin, Matt Zuccarello, Chris Kreider, Derek Stepan, Derek Brassard, Kevin Hayes, JT Miller. Yeah. That is the crux of the offense. Those six players give us such a distinct advantage over the rest of the league. Do you know the average age of all of those players?
Well, I know
it has to be 24 or 25.
Yeah, I mean, I know JT Miller and Kevin Hayes are exactly our age. They were born in the same year.
Right.
Chris Kreider's a year older than us.
So he's 23.
Yeah. No, we're turning 23 this year.
Right.
So he'll be 24.
Right.
Yes. Brassard is a couple years older than that. Zuccarello's like 27, 28, around there.
Yes.
They're all pre-30. They're all in the.
But they're not approaching hitting 30.
A large portion of them are on the better side of 25, which is insane.
Right. I mean, and it's the same way with our captain, Ryan McDonough.
McDonough too, yeah.
He's I think Derek Stepan's age, so he's 24 or 25, 26. Hold on, I got to check this.
I mean, it doesn't matter exact number. They're young. That's the whole point. That's what I'm saying. People are saying we're mortgaging the future. Our future is on the team right now.
We're entering that stage where the Rangers are going to be good for the next 5 to 10 years.
Just like how the Blackhawks core is all very young and they did a great job winning cups. The Rangers are in a very similar situation. The thing too is goalies. Goalies are a different breed. Goalies sometimes have their better seasons as mid-30s, late 30 guys. Think about all those random, Tim Thomas had that insane season, or you have guys like, Steve Mason, a guy who was on the Blues a couple years ago. Was it Elliott? Got older guys who just had. Joe's the point. What's the point, Joe?
Derek Stepan. He's 24, turning 25 this year.
24.
I was wrong. I said 25, turning.
Well,
26.
I remember him playing. I remember him playing at Wisconsin when I was still at BU. So he couldn't have been that old.
No, he was not that old.
And
McDonough is 25,
and
26.
Yeah, and at BU I've seen Kevin Hayes and Chris Kreider score too many goals versus the Terriers. But
I'm sorry, I had to double check.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No, but my point is that what was I saying about you just threw me off 100%. I have no idea what I was talking about.
Senior moment?
I guess. I'm at age, right? I'm getting 22. I'm up there. Well,
you were talking about, let's see.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sure whatever point I was making, it was good. It is now gone forever in the depths of my brain. But to keep reiterating your point, they had to make a move to go for the cup run last year. They were, obviously the finals didn't turn out the way they wanted to. Even though a couple of bounces, the games could have been different. But sure, they had to make this move. Glenn Sather is probably one of the best in the league. The guy must have dirt on every single GM in the whole NHL. He has one of those embarrassing Christmas party pictures or whatever of them and doing something dumb drunk, because that's the only explanation to get guys like McDonough and get guys like Nash and always winning trades. So I love the fact that you got Keith Yandle because he fills a need. I'm not worried about the whole face-off thing. I think you have a guy who can help the power play. Special teams matter. You got to convert in the playoffs. You cannot waste chances. It's as simple as that. So I'm a big fan of this trade. You're a big fan of this trade. I think anyone with the brains of Rangers fans is a big fan of this trade. Yandle's a legit guy who could do a lot of things for us defensively, even creating offense just on even strength, creating offense with the man advantage. And what's Yandle? Yandle's not that old guy either, right? He's hovering around 30, so he's probably.
I don't think he's that old. I think he's either 26 or 27.
Oh, he's not even that old. So
no, he's not even that old at all.
He's a guy I'd keep around too. So I'm a big fan of this. This trade.
I'm sorry, he's 28.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
Right. I mean, it's a great age.
But
he's on the good side of 30.
Right.
So I think if you're against this trade, you're lost. And I think it's a move the Rangers need to make, and I think it's going to help. It's going to pay dividends. I 100% know it's going to pay dividends because you have a guy now you have to game plan for on the power play. Danwell was not doing the job, but he moved Danwell to the second power play unit. It's fine. Any other trades you wanted to hit on before we keep moving along? Or
well, the NHL trade deadline was generally what we would expected. The biggest story was the second biggest story was probably how Toronto didn't move their stars. So That organization is a freaking mess. But we'll move on from that. Generally hockey talk. Where would you put the Rangers right now if you had to list your top 5 teams right now who could win the Stanley Cup?
East and Western Conference?
Yes, East and West. Another sub-argument in this. I think the East right now is personally better than the West. I think the Stanley Cup winner will come from the Eastern Conference.
It's strange because a lot of people thought the East was very similar to the NBA, just the weaker conference. The West had all these teams, the Kings winning and the Ducks being great, and the Blues and other Predators are doing really well. I'd say I'm not going to rank them, but if you got to give me a handful, I'd say.
Well, I give you 5. 5's good.
I'd say the Rangers are in the mix. Obviously, I wrote the article the other day for the blog saying the Rangers are definitely in the mix. I think they're the favorite in the Eastern Conference. If you have a great defensive core and you have a great goalie, you're always in it. So I think Nashville is in it. Their offense is not as potent as the Rangers. They played the other day, and the Rangers they beat them 4-1. But with Pecorino, you're always going to be in it. I think you got to throw the Ducks in there, just because they have a ton of scoring. Their goalie Gibson's young though, so if he sends in their head, great. If not, that can give him trouble. The Red Wings, they're an interesting team. They made a good move. They have offense. They have defense. Jimmy Howard is not really an enigma. But I feel like he's just always he can always do so much more. Last night he showed it, but I feel like it's just not consistent with him. And I don't really trust this team because to me they're San Jose of the East. But Ovechkin's on a scoring tear, and you always got to worry about that. So I'd say those are them. If they're all different, obviously the Blackhawks, without Kane, it hurts. The Blues, I don't think I would get enough scoring. I know Vancouver's been done pretty well too, but I don't know. There's a lot of. I can poke holes in a lot of teams. You can poke holes in the Rangers too. I think right now it's a little bit too soon, but I guess if the Blackhawks would be in if Kane was healthy, and they're a team I worried about. But the more I talk about it, you could realize how good the East could be. The East really could have the winner this year. I didn't include Pittsburgh because I don't trust Fleury. I think the Islanders are a nice story, but I don't think anyone takes them seriously.
Right. The problem I have with the Islanders as a contender is that they blow leads, and they've blown many 2-3-goal leads throughout the entire season. And that's not a good sign of a team that can go deep.
Right.
Team that can't hold the lead. Because leads get blown very easily in the playoffs. And the second thing is that they haven't been there before. And I think, especially now, recently, you're starting to see a certain kind of profile team that makes a deep run in the playoffs. And usually it's a team that's got guys who've done it before.
Right.
But they also have a really good mix of young talent. Which is why I think I'd throw the Rangers in there. I think the Canadians are a very good team. Good. But I don't think they're the kind of team that can win a Stanley Cup. But I definitely think they're a team that could get to the Cup. And I think Tampa Bay is the same way. I think they're a team that can, with their youth and their speed, they can make a run, and they have enough veteran talent, with Callahan and Boyle, who have been through the grind before. And even Stamkos was on the team that made a run a couple of years ago. But they're the kind of team that I don't think can win a cup, but they could get there. I love Detroit.
Yeah.
Right now, Detroit, I tweeted this last night. They seem to me like they're the team that hasn't really played great the entire season. They've been kind of just coasting by and been a good team. And they're that kind of team that hasn't put it all together yet. And they have the kind of players who can put it all together in the playoffs. So I think right now Detroit is definitely the dark horse in the East because they've got Datsuk and Zetterberg and Kronwall, but at the same time they mix it in with Gustav Nyquist and Thomas Tatar and Brendan Smith and Jimmy Howard. I would put Jimmy Howard in that Corey Crawford tier where he's not the elite Henrik Lundqvist, Jonathan Quick, Pekka Rinne, Carey Price goalie, but he's in that second tier and you could probably get to the final with him.
Right, exactly. No, I agree with that.
So I think coming from the East, those 4 teams are definitely your best shot. I wouldn't throw in the Islanders.
No.
I don't think this is a Ranger bias aside. I just think
no, it's not.
You got to give me something give me a year where they're in the playoffs and they win around and
sure.
They
totally
get their heart stomped on and they lose a tough series. after that, then they'll be battle tested, and then they'll be able to go into the next year and.
I agree.
Really
if anything, I want them to be good and be in the playoffs as a Rangers fan because it makes hockey more fun. I don't
especially
want
in New York.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'd root for them to make the playoffs and make a good run, but I just don't think they're capable of it.
We're not there yet. In the Western Conference, this is another one of my my bold predictions. I think Nashville is a good team. I don't think they're going to be a good playoff team. I can very well see Nashville.
You need scoring. That's what it comes down to.
Being the team that gets bounced in the opening round. And we've seen this in recent years with teams like the Washington Capitals and the Vancouver Canucks. Teams that go out and win the President's Trophy. And then winning the President's Trophy means diddly squat in the playoffs because they're out in 5 or 6 games in the first round. My biggest problem with Nashville is that their defense and their goal, like their Pekka Rinne, he's so good and they're so far above. And they're a very good offensive team, and Philip Forsberg is most likely going to be the Calder Trophy winner. He's been that good. But their center depth is Mike Fisher and Mike Ribeiro.
Yeah.
That's not a team, like, could they very well make a run and maybe get to the Cup final in the West?
And it shows you Neil.
Sure.
Neil, too, has not been the same Neil that had played with Crosby and all those guys in Pittsburgh.
He's not going to player. Right, he's not going to be the guy who's going to score 15 goals on a playoff run and do a lot of things by himself.
No.
So I think right now Nashville is they're a very good regular season team. I think they're going to get exposed in the playoffs. I think the Blues and the Blackhawks, even with Patrick Kane, profile better as teams who can make a run. And I think right now this is as good as it's going to get for St. Louis, because if Patrick Kane remains out for the entire duration of the 10 to 12 weeks that he's going to be out, and the Blues end up getting the Blackhawks in the opening round, that's as good as they're going to have it. Like the Blues will be set up to have the Blackhawks without Patrick Kane. They'll be set up to have the winner of the Predators and Flames. Who else? The Winnipeg Jets, the Dallas Stars. Whoever makes the run, the San Jose Sharks too. Whoever makes that run in that second wild card spot in the West, assuming that Nashville wins the President's Trophy, the Blues will be situated to have a really good run. So I think this is the year. Like I'll throw the Blues into that mix. I'll throw the Blackhawks in that mix because they've just been there before and they know how to do it. And I can trust them to make a run for a round or two without Kane. I like the Kings. I still like the Kings.
Yeah,
if they get I don't care where the Kings enter, they're going to be good.
I agree with that.
So I think for the Western Conference, I would...
Just repeating is so tough.
That's Ducks, the Kings, and the Blues. I'm going to throw out the Blackhawks temporarily for now because of the Kane injury, and I'll throw in the Red Wings and the Rangers. So those are my top 5 teams that are most likely to pick for the win.
All right, so an impromptu NHL breakdown. I know we're running really long today, but I want to get to definitely 2 more things. Quickly on the NBA, I was going to open the show not bashing LeBron, but making fun of what he did on Instagram. And yeah, we get probably 10 minute warning. We've been gone for a while. So LeBron, he has to understand that, you know, you're the best player in the game, and I get he's not the mean, the nasty guy that MJ was, that Kobe was. He's not going to get on the court and, you know, be like, F you, I'm dropping 50 in your face, and I'm going to walk all over you. He's not that guy. He wants to be friends with everyone. He wants to be the family man, the nice guy. Fine, great. Like that's his personality. I have no problem with that. I have no problem that he wants to be very open and connected with fans on social media. He tweets a lot. He posts Instagram pictures. Great, love that. He's very transparent. I also like that. The NBA is just different. It's not the same NBA that MJ was in, that Kobe when he was in his prime. It's not the same. Kobe has no friends. Like, he's admitted that. Like, he's a weird guy. Like, MJ has a lot of demons himself. LeBron is, by all accounts, a normal dude. But I think posting a picture of yourself, blaming yourself on Instagram is just so strange and so unnecessary, because if you come back to the locker room, what are people going to say? Like, what is your problem? I mean, like, him on social media this year has been worse than J.R. Smith, who is notorious for doing really dumb things. Funny, but dumb. First, he did the subliminal tweets about, you know, he's subtweeting Kevin Love, who I think is not going to be on the Cavaliers next year, win or lose the championship. And then you go to a couple weeks later to go and say, you know, oh, I gotta, you know, do better this and that. It's like, whatever. Like, you screwed up. You didn't have your best game. You went like 3 from 11, 3 for 12 from the free throw line. You lost the game. Whatever. Your team is dominating right now. You single-handedly
are dominating. You put yourself back in the MVP race. Your team is firing on all cylinders, and right now you're probably the favorite to win the whole the thing, even with the whole powerful Western Conference. So just cut the crap. Why do you have to post it and look like an idiot? Like, just stop. Be yourself. Be your nice guy. He craves to be liked. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that. I've learned. That's just what kind of person he is. Our problem is that you want him to be the Jordan in every aspect. He's not going to be that. He's his own person. But don't take a mirror selfie in a Canadian tuxedo, whatever it was. It was dumb. You want to make fun of him too, or are you good? Want to go on?
He's got a receding hairline. That's it.
There you go.
That's what I got.
Unnecessary shot, Joe.
That's what I got.
Unnecessary shot.
That's what I got.
The other NBA thing before we get to our last topic, another social type issue, which means this podcast is going to be 3 hours long, is the whole. We can make this really quick. Does Russell Westbrook's play make him the MVP as of now?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes, Joe. Who else on my podcast?
Okay. No.
All right, good. I agree with you.
Great.
No, but
however, I will say this: I think he's definitely played well enough to finish somewhere in the top 5. And I think there's value for a player like Westbrook finishing that high in the MVP voting. But do I think he's the MVP? Absolutely not.
He'll finish 4th behind LeBron.
Steph Curry.
And I think Steph Curry will finish 2nd. I think Harden will win it.
You think Harden's going to win the MVP?
I think he has to.
Interesting.
Harden has to because of what he's done with the talent of his team.
Interesting. That's a good one. I like that. I'm going
to act like you've never heard someone pick Harden. I mean, I'm not supposed to talk about what I work with. But word around the Sirius XM NBA area.
Ooh, interesting. No, you got inside info.
It's not inside info, Joe. Joe, do you not read? Do you not watch TV? It's been a two-horse race between Curry and Harden.
No, the only reason I was being sarcastic is I thought you were going to take the Curry argument. See, I'm taking the Curry argument because I think Curry's going to win the MVP.
He's not the most valuable player because they have Klay Thompson, they have Draymond Green, they have other guys who have been very good.
Right.
You subtract James Harden, who's leading the league in scoring and is doing a good job with assists too. He's near the league in that. You don't really have much. Dwight's been hurt. I mean, who's their next best player? I mean, it's supposed to be Terrence Jones, who just came back, or Terrence Ross. Sorry. I don't know. I mean, I think Curry has been awesome. He's shown himself that he's the best shooter in the game, bar none. But I think that what James Harden does is a little bit more impressive. I don't want to get off track. Back to Westbrook. You cannot. There's 2 reasons why he won't win the MVP. Miss too many games. Next thing is, if they don't make the playoffs, he's not going to win. I know there's a stat out there. There's been like only a handful of guys who won the MVP with a team that's like not finished within like the top 3 of their conference.
Right.
And he might not make the playoffs. And on top of the fact that he missed so many games. So I'm not sure if you could really consider him as the MVP. That being said, I think LeBron will continue his dominance and he'll be 3rd. So that's our whole NBA for the day. The last thing I want to talk about, you see this whole Curt Schilling thing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to say it. I think it was appropriately dealt with.
You think it was appropriately dealt with? Okay,
yeah.
Well, now we have an argument.
Uh-oh.
Well, I obviously have to preface this with what those kids said, what those guys said was disgusting.
It was really bad.
It was disgusting. All the stuff they expelled, like lost their job, suspended, whatever. Fine, I'm okay with that. You shouldn't say this stuff on social media when your face is in your Twitter picture. Like, what are you doing? Like, people could see you. Yeah, like you're ruining your life. Like, you're ruining your career, your job as a student. Enough bad things cannot be said about those people. It's gross. It's awful. But again, this goes back to the whole Daniel Murphy thing with just the athletes and former athletes' ability or inability to they have to learn to stop speaking. Don't say your daughter, who is a college-age girl, is going to play softball at a school. Why post that? As sad as it sounds, yes, it's Curt Schilling's social media account. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. In today's world, there's always going to be somebody who's negative, and everyone's so connected and so, just full of garbage and hate.
you're going to have an idiot to say something. And it wasn't just one. It was a whole lot.
Right. There are going to be trolls everywhere. That's just
no matter what you do. No matter what, you
That's
can go and save them from a burning building and somebody will say you're an idiot. You suck. That's just the way, that's just the way it is. Curt Schilling is and he's a loudmouth guy too. He's been in the news for the other the weird comments he's made about either steroids or like the weird like the Christianity thing or the alien thing. Like he's bankrupted the state of Rhode Island for a video game. I'm not trying to break his balls. Like I understand. Again, he's allowed to do what he wants. It's not a tirade against Curt Schilling, but he has to be aware of the consequences when you post something about your family on social media. And I don't know. And it sounds as sad as it sounds to say you can't do that kind of stuff. You can't. It's hard to like. Sure, he's proud. He wants to boast and be. But in today's world, you just can't. If you're that famous, you just can't do it. Because it's going to come back and bite you in the rear end because somebody's going to say something stupid, and then he goes on the tirade of saying, "I have friends in the military, this and that," and he's threatening them, and those kids are wrong. They did but two wrongs don't make a right. So I just, the question is, say Joe, me and you become somewhat not famous, but we become known in the sports media world. Are you going to like withhold certain information because of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm going to steal a Breaking Bad line. I'm going to tread lightly with how I use social media. You have to be more careful. You have to be much more.
And it's because you want to be more private, or is it because of your fear of those trolls?
Well, I'm not to say I'm not scared of them,
right?
But you don't want to deal with them.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm the. Once I hopefully break into the industry and become a professional, mm-hmm. I would like to keep my personal life separate from my professional life.
Sure.
So I'm not going to tweet
right.
anything about like where I'm going to dinner on a Friday night.
Totally agree.
I'm not going to tweet about like me and my future girlfriend / wife where we went on vacation.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm joking. No, you're absolutely right. And people who are listening to us, people who are listening to us,
it's such a slippery slope.
100%. And people who are listening to us like don't realize like that. Like I'm not even joking when I'm saying like if you're in the sports media world, you become known. Your Twitter gets verified. You make radio spots. You write articles. You make TV spots. As it happens, I want to be a sports radio host. I will have to make appearances on stuff. However, I'll be known. I'll be a person who's listened to.
And the worst part is, not to cut you off, though there were kinds of people like there who you were saying before with like trolls. If you tweet something, they won't like have any interest in conversating with you. They'll be like, "Oh, your article effing sucks."
Right. They'll go after
like,
they'll go after your work.
You're effing ugly, or like, you know what I mean?
100%. They will go after your physical traits. They'll go after your girlfriend, your kids, your family, your like you said, your work, your opinions. Anything they could go after, they'll go after. And it's like as much as people want to say like, "Oh, Eddie and Joe's going to become famous," what do you think happens when? Name somebody who is in the New York media who is not known or does not have Twitter followers or gets people to attack him on Twitter. It's just a fact. And I was having this conversation with Jada the other day. I feel like everyone who downloads this podcast knows who Jada is, but if those who don't know, she's my girlfriend and she wants to do the same thing. She's in broadcast as well and wants to do it for TV. And especially if you're on television, you're going to be way more exposed than just radio or writing or what have you. And we were talking about this because she has a strong opinion on this too, and she was saying like how it's awful, whatever. And she's a girl. Obviously, it's gross. It's scary and it's terrible. And my opinion on this was that Curt Schilling should have just ignored it and not brought them to light. And I feel like if you ignore, you almost win if you ignore them, because to them those kids are saying, oh, maybe he didn't see it. Maybe and they feel like their post was not validated. Now, what happens when you feed the troll and you answer? Then they feel they won. They have the sense of pride that they got underneath his skin, and that's where you lose. So I told her that I am not gonna if I have if I'm famous and you're famous, and she's like, well, what happens if I want to say something about you or us or an accomplishment or whatever? You're like, you're not going to tweet about this or our kids or our home or whatever. And I was like, no way would I ever say, okay, we're living here now, or she got this promotion or she
she, or something about her kids. Like, I was like, you're nuts, because she's an attractive girl. I'm not going to want people to say, I want to do this, and this with your girl. Like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want people to know about where I'm living or whatever. I want to keep that out of the way. And if you don't respond to them, then they'll think, okay, you're not feeding them. They don't know that they got through to you. And I think that's the most powerful thing you could do when you're a person, who gets these nasty tweets. I think that's the best form of defense is to just ignore it, because you have people on there who like to fight these guys, and he draws extra attention. And now Kurt Schilling looks like a madman for going after his daughter. I'm not saying he's wrong. He has every reason in the world to do that and defend his daughter. But if you're going to tweet something about your college-age daughter, you're going to get some feedback, and it's going to be mostly negative. That's just the world we live in. Times have changed. Drops Mike.
We got some Twitter questions. So we'll do this rapid fire. We got a couple.
Rapid fire, I'll do it.
From Sports Blog New York. If you want to follow that, it's at Sport, no S, so at Sport Blog NYC. Brandon Seagal 22. The chances the New York Giants get Devin McCurdy in free agency.
I don't think so after today, because they cut Vince Wilfork.
Okay. At Outlaw _XLC.
Just say the question.
LeSean Cusack. No, we want to get him involved too. Where does Trent Cole end up?
The Jets. I said that before.
Jets. Jets. At Jeremy Langthorne, where does DeMarco Murray end up?
I still think back in Dallas. They said they want to. So you think they're gonna? Well, I think Stephen Jones said they're looking to resign him. So if they want to, I think he'll stay in Dallas.
Last question. At Steve _ Nason11. If the Jets don't grab Mariota with the 6 picks, say he falls, what direction do you think they'll go in the draft?
Wait, what was it? Wait, with the Jets
Jets don't grab Mariota, because right now
that's like saying that the Jets are. I don't think the Jets ever really intended to draft Mariota. So I'm
saying, like, Todd McShay right now has Mariota going to the Jets.
I think along the lines of them signing Trent Cole, I think they're trying to go for a pass rusher.
Okay. So you think like Shane Ray,
a defensive coach to go for the pass rusher, yeah.
Okay. So. Gregory will probably be off the board in the top 4 or 5. So Shane Ray and then Fowler. Fowler's been rising up from Florida, has been rising up draft boards quick. So you think they'll go pass rusher?
Well, I guess they've been linked to Trent Cole, and they have a defensive coach now. Pass rushers, it's been one of those big needs. It's been one of the most important positions, whether it's quarterback, pass rusher, and like tackle, left tackle. It's been like that's like the hot positions in the NFL, the trend lately. So I think that's the angle they're going to go in this draft. I never really thought Mariota was like a sure fit for them. I didn't think that was what they wanted.
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks for the Twitter questions.
Yeah, keep tweeting. You get a lot, yeah.
We're going to tweet from that every week.
Yeah, I did a bad job at the end. Once we got heated with after the whole McCoy argument, I kind of like it was good conversation, so I kind of like tailed off at the tweets. But yeah, so that's basically it for today. I definitely could say that the articles we post, the blog, by Gene and by Joe, both Joes, and Andrew Crawford, Joe Carlin, Gene DeMayo, myself.
Pretty soon, Nick.
Yeah,
We're
Nick.
Have the Yankees article up soon.
Nick, my old radio host, co-host, up at school in Boston. He wrote an awesome Yankees article. The kid doing a lot up there for them. He's the hockey announcer, play by. He's like the Pierre Maguire of the Terriers. So we have a lot of really talented kids writing for us now, and the podcast, hopefully, as things progress with, again, the audio board up, and we'll have a couple really cool ideas we have. I don't want to give them away. I could tease them. Maybe you hear more than just us speaking. Maybe some kind of roundtable
discussion
event. So we have a couple fun things planned, and it'll be good. So going forward, yeah. So definitely check out the other blogs. Obviously, the minute we have some technical advancements, we will start implementing them, and we will definitely use them to our advantage, get callers. I know we've been saying this every week, but it's tough, and me and Joe are working. So, but sorry, this podcast was 8 hours long, and we had to get through a lot of stuff.
No, we're fine.
Hopefully
we're on schedule.
Hopefully the
house doesn't collapse.
I think it's my dad outside in this awful weather. Hopefully our next podcast it's 60 degrees and sunny. But anyway, not to this close taking forever. Yeah, so we jam-packed with stuff this week. I feel like we've been getting lucky every single week. We've been podcasting. There's been a ton of sports stories, so this was really fun to go with it. Like I said, coming forward, we'll do NFL draft preview. A bunch of cool things in store. The articles, the blogs, they've been awesome. So read those. We'll keep pushing out content as much as possible. So thanks for the support. Thanks for the tweets. Thanks for listening.
If you want to go to our website, it's dishingandswishingpodcast.wordpress.com. Pretty soon we'll be able to buy the domain there. Follow us on Twitter. We're at uppercase D, lowercase n, uppercase S, _podcast. If you want to follow us, we're easy to follow. Yeah. You could just find us on our Twitter page.
At Edward L. Murphy, and what are you, Joe? Joe
_Calabrese92. So we're easy to follow.
We'll be on iTunes soon as well. Go to the YouTube page. All our podcasts are linked there. And also on our podcast section of our site. Joe does a really good job with that. Anything else you want to add?
That's it. We're ready to sign off. I'm Joe Calabrese.
And Eddie. And next week we'll have another 5-hour podcast, and we'll log off right before the snowblower starts. So see you guys around.